Imagine this. Sweat is pouring down your face. You're hiding, threshing wheat in a winepress, not on a threshing floor where you're supposed to be. Why? Because you're terrified. Any moment they could appear. The Midianites. For 7 long years, this has been life for the people of Israel. Hiding, starving, hopeless. The Midianites were like a plague of locusts, an uncountable, destructive force. They swarmed the land with their camels, devouring everything in their path, crops, livestock, and every last shred of dignity. The people who had witnessed the Red Sea part were now reduced to living in caves and dens. And Gideon, he was just a young man from the weakest family in his tribe, the very definition of a nobody. He was hiding, just trying to survive. Then a voice cuts through the suffocating silence of the winepress. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon whips around. An angel is standing there, perfectly calm, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Gideon almost scoffs. "Mighty warrior, me? If the Lord is really with us, then why is all this happening? Where are all those miracles our ancestors told us about?" The angel's reply is life-altering. "Go in the strength you have and save Israel. Am I not sending you?" Gideon feels the impossible weight of those words land on his shoulders. Him save an entire nation. It was absurd, but in that moment a tiny spark ignited deep inside him, a flicker of possibility. That very night, with trembling hands, Gideon obeys. He tears down the altar to the false god Baal, an altar that belonged to his own father. By morning the whole town is in an uproar, demanding his life, but his father, in a shocking twist, stands up for him. "If Baal is a god," he declares, "let him fight for himself." Gideon's fear was still there, but it was slowly changing into something else, a shaky, trembling obedience. Soon the Midianites gather again. A sea of 135,000 warriors fills the valley, their tents and weapons stretching as far as the eye can see. Gideon blows a trumpet, and the men of Israel start to arrive, first hundreds, then thousands, until 32,000 men stand with him. His heart pounds. They're still outnumbered more than 4 to 1, but it's a start, it's something. But then God speaks. "You have too many men. If I give you this victory, Israel will boast and say, 'My own strength has saved me.'" Gideon can't believe his ears. Too many. They barely had a chance as it was. "Now," God continues, "announce to the army, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him go home." Gideon watches in disbelief as 22,000 men turn and walk away. Just like that, his army shrinks to a mere 10,000. A wave of panic washes over him. How could they possibly win now? But God wasn't done. There are still too many. He leads them down to a stream to drink. Gideon watches as most of the men get on their knees, carelessly burying their faces in the water, completely vulnerable. But a small group, just 300 of them, cup the water in their hands, lapping it like dogs, their eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Alert, ready. "With these 300 men who lap the water," God says, "I will save you." 300 against 135,000. The odds were 450 to 1. It was suicide. That night, Gideon couldn't sleep. The enemy camp below was a galaxy of campfires on the valley floor. The noise of thousands of men and camels was a constant, intimidating roar. And all he had was 300 men. God knew his heart was filled with terror. "If you are afraid," God tells him, "go down to the camp with your servant and listen to what they're saying. It will give you courage." So, under the cover of darkness, Gideon and his servant sneak down into the enemy camp, crawling between the tents. They overhear a soldier telling his friend about a dream he had. "I dreamed," the soldier says, "that a loaf of barley bread tumbled into our camp, hit a tent, and knocked it completely flat. His friend replies, his voice trembling, "This can be nothing else but the sword of Gideon. God has given all of Midian into his hands." They were afraid of him. God had already won the battle in the hearts and minds of the enemy before it even began. Gideon's fear instantly turned to worship. He now knew what he had to do. Midnight. 300 men silently surround the massive enemy camp. Each man holds a torch hidden inside a clay jar and a trumpet. No swords, no spears, just light, sound, and a whole lot of faith. Gideon looks at the faces of his men, tired, calloused, but full of courage. They weren't chosen because they were the strongest or most skilled. They were chosen so that everyone would know that the victory belonged to God alone. "Watch me," Gideon shouts, "and do as I do." On his signal, 300 clay jars shatter at once. 300 torches blaze to life, lighting up the darkness all around the camp. The sound of 300 trumpets rips through the night like a thunderclap, and they all cry out, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" The chaos is immediate. The Midianites wake up, completely surrounded by light and noise coming from every direction. They think they're being attacked by a massive army. In the darkness and confusion, they turn on each other, mistaking their own comrades for Israelite soldiers. Panic turns into a self-inflicted slaughter. The immense army that had terrorized Israel for 7 years flees in absolute terror, while Gideon's 300 men simply stand their ground, holding their torches and blowing their trumpets, watching God fight for them. The most impossible victory in history, won without a single Israelite sword being lifted in combat. When the sun rose that morning, Israel was free. Gideon, the terrified young man from the winepress, was now Gideon, the deliverer of his people. Not because he was strong, or because his army was large, but because God loves to use the weak to show his strength. Those 300 men went back to their homes. They were just ordinary farmers, shepherds, and laborers. But they had seen firsthand that when God is on your side, numbers don't matter. The odds don't matter. The size of your enemy doesn't matter, because 300 with God is an overwhelming majority. Are you facing a giant in your life right now? A situation that seems impossible, where the numbers just don't add up? Maybe you feel like Gideon in that winepress, hiding, afraid, feeling completely unqualified for the challenge ahead. But what if God is looking at you right now and saying the same thing he said to Gideon, "Go in the strength you have. Am I not sending you?" What if your 300 is more than enough because God is with you? The same voice that called Gideon is calling you today. The same God who fought for 300 men with torches and broken jars is ready to fight for you. Don't give up on your impossible battle, because with God, the impossible is just a matter of when. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to be reminded that God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And if you're facing your own giant today, let us know in the comments. What is your 300? What is God asking you to do even though you're afraid? Thanks for watching.